Have you ever judged someone just because of what they were wearing? Imagine walking into one of the most luxurious hotels in the country. The marble floors shine like mirrors. Crystal chandeliers hang from the ceiling. Every employee greets well-dressed guests with warm smiles. Then the front doors open. A man wearing a faded black hoodie, old blue jeans, worn-out sneakers, and carrying a small backpack quietly walks inside. The lobby falls silent. Some employees glance at him with disgust. Others pretend not to notice him. The receptionist rolls her eyes and whispers to a coworker, "He probably can't even afford a room." A manager walks past without acknowledging him. A bellhop is quietly told not to waste time helping him. The restaurant staff assume he doesn't belong. The man never argues. He never raises his voice. He simply smiles, observes everything around him, and quietly writes notes in a small black notebook. What no one in that luxury hotel realizes is that the man in the faded hoodie owns every hotel in the Hale hospitality group. He isn't there to enjoy a 5-star vacation. He's there to answer one important question. How do my employees treat people they believe don't matter? Within the next 48 hours, some employees will lose the careers they spent years building. Others will receive promotions they never dreamed possible. And one simple act of kindness will remind everyone that a person's true value is never measured by the clothes they wear. This isn't just the story of a billionaire. It's a story about respect, dignity, and the extraordinary power of treating every stranger with kindness. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story already, take a second to like this video and subscribe. You won't believe where this story is headed. Now, let's begin. The young receptionist didn't even lower her voice. Don't waste your time on him. She was looking directly at the man in the faded hoodie. His backpack looked cheap. His beard carried a touch of gray. He looked more like someone who had spent the day riding buses than someone checking into one of the country's finest hotels. Without waiting for him, the receptionist turned to a wealthy couple who had just entered. "Welcome, we'll check you in right away." The man in the hoodie stepped aside without complaint. He smiled politely and waited. No one knew they had just ignored the owner of the entire hotel chain. Not the receptionist, not the security guards, not the managers, not even the general manager who proudly walked past him without a single greeting. The man standing quietly in the lobby was worth more than $3 billion. But money wasn't what had brought him there. He had come looking for the truth. 6 years earlier, before business magazines called him one of America's most respected hotel owners, before television interviews, before anyone knew the name Nathan Hale. He was simply Nathan, a young man carrying one backpack, $47, and nowhere to sleep. Rain poured over downtown Chicago as he searched for work. Every business gave him the same answer: "We're not hiring." Cold, exhausted, and hungry, Nathan stopped outside a beautiful hotel. Warm lights glowed through the glass doors. Families laughed inside, while expensive luggage rolled across polished marble floors. He knew he couldn't afford a room. He only wanted to escape the rain for a few minutes. As soon as he stepped inside, a security guard blocked his path. "You can't stay here." Nathan nodded politely. "I'm sorry, I just wanted to get out of the rain." The guard pointed toward the door. "This place is for paying guests." Without arguing, Nathan turned to leave. Then someone called out behind him, "Young man." An elderly housekeeper stood beside her cleaning cart. She smiled warmly. "You look freezing." A moment later, she returned with a paper bag. Inside was a turkey sandwich, an apple, and a bottle of water. Nathan shook his head. "I can't take this." She gently placed it into his hands. "My grandson is about your age." Then she smiled. "Everybody deserves kindness." Nathan felt tears fill his eyes. All day people had looked through him as though he didn't exist. But one stranger had chosen to see him. He never forgot that moment. Nathan eventually found work washing dishes in a small restaurant. The pay was terrible. The hours were long. But every dollar mattered. During the day, he worked. At night, he studied books about hotels, hospitality, business, and customer service. One question stayed with him. Why did luxury hotels make ordinary people feel invisible? Years passed. Nathan saved every dollar he could. He made mistakes, lost money, started over, failed again. Then one investment changed everything. He bought a rundown motel that everyone else believed was worthless. Nathan saw opportunity where others saw failure. He repaired rooms himself, painted walls, fixed broken furniture, cleaned bathrooms when employees didn't show up. He welcomed every guest personally. Truck drivers, traveling nurses, young families. Everyone received the same respect. When people asked why the owner worked alongside his staff, Nathan always gave the same answer. The owner should never forget what work feels like. Word spread. The motel became successful. Then he bought another property. And another. Years later, Hale Hospitality owned luxury hotels across America. But Nathan never trusted reports written in boardrooms. He trusted what he saw with his own eyes. So he created a tradition. Every month, without telling anyone, he disguised himself as an ordinary traveler. He wore old clothes, carried a cheap backpack, booked a room under a fake name. Then he watched. One question guided every visit. How do my employees treat someone they believe has no importance? Today, Nathan's destination was the company's newest luxury hotel, the Crown Meridian. The hotel had won awards for excellence. Every quarterly report praised it as the finest property in the Hale Hospitality portfolio. But Nathan had learned long ago that reports only told one side of the story. People told the other. His black SUV stopped 2 streets away. The driver looked back. "Sir, are you sure you want to walk from here?" Nathan smiled. "If they recognize me before I walk through those doors, I'll learn nothing." He slipped on his faded black hoodie, adjusted the straps of his worn backpack, and headed toward the hotel. The grand entrance came into view. The doorman glanced at him briefly before looking away. No greeting, no smile. Nathan noticed, but kept walking. Inside, the lobby was breathtaking. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Soft piano music drifted through the air. Fresh flowers filled the room with their fragrance, while polished marble floors reflected every light. Everything looked flawless. Nathan quietly joined the check-in line. 2 guests stood ahead of him. He waited patiently. Then the real inspection began. The receptionist looked up. Just then, a wealthy couple wearing designer clothes entered the lobby. Her face immediately lit up. "Good afternoon, welcome to the Crown Meridian." Without hesitation, she waved them ahead. Nathan had been waiting longer. He said nothing. The couple laughed with the receptionist as she checked them in, even offering complimentary drinks. Only after they walked away did she turn to Nathan. Her smile disappeared. Next, Nathan stepped forward. I have a reservation. Name: Daniel Brooks. It was the alias he always used during surprise inspections. She searched the computer. Then her eyes drifted from the screen to his clothes. So you're staying here? Yes. She slid his room key across the counter instead of placing it in his hand. Room 814. Nathan thanked her. Before leaving, he asked politely, "It's my first time here. Could you point me toward the elevators?" Without looking up, she gestured lazily. Over there. As Nathan walked away, he heard two receptionists whisper behind him. Imagine paying this much money just to dress like that. A quiet laugh followed. Nathan didn't react. He simply remembered every word. Near the elevators stood a young bellhop. He couldn't have been older than 20. Nathan approached him with a smile. "Excuse me." The young man turned immediately. "Yes, sir. My knee has been bothering me. Would you mind helping me with my backpack?" The bag was almost empty. The request wasn't about the weight. It was another test. Of course. The bellhop reached for the bag. "Jason." A supervisor hurried over. The moment she noticed Nathan, her expression changed. "Leave that." Jason looked confused. "But he asked for help." She lowered her voice. "The family that just arrived needs you." Jason looked toward the entrance. An elegantly dressed family had just entered. "They're our priority," the supervisor said firmly. Jason hesitated. He looked back at Nathan. "I'm sorry, sir." Nathan smiled warmly. "It's all right." Jason reluctantly walked away. But before leaving, he turned back. "I hope you enjoy your stay." Nathan nodded. "Thank you." That simple sentence meant more than Jason could possibly know. Room 814 overlooked the city skyline. Nathan placed his backpack on a chair and removed a plain black notebook. No company logo. No expensive leather. Just a notebook filled with observations. He wrote, "Crown Meridian, Day 1. Reception. Guest ignored while wealthier guests received priority. Disrespectful comments based on appearance. Bell service." Jason showed genuine willingness to help. Supervisor discouraged service because another guest appeared wealthier. Nathan underlined one sentence. Character reveals itself when no one believes they're being watched. He closed the notebook. The inspection had only begun. Later that afternoon, Nathan visited the hotel cafe. Several tables sat empty. He ordered a black coffee. "Right away, sir," the waiter replied. 10 minutes passed. Nothing arrived. Then 3 businessmen entered wearing tailored suits. Immediately, 2 waiters rushed over. "What can we get for you, gentlemen?" Nathan watched quietly. A few minutes later, the waiter finally remembered him. "Those, I forgot." He placed the coffee on the table without apology before walking away. Nathan calmly took another note. People rarely forget wealthy customers. They forget the ones they think don't matter. As he finished his coffee, Nathan noticed an elderly woman struggling with 2 heavy suitcases. Several employees stood nearby. No one moved. Nathan immediately stood. "Ma'am, may I help you?" Relief spread across her face. "Oh, thank goodness. My shoulder isn't what it used to be." Nathan lifted one suitcase. Before he could grab the second, Jason appeared. "I've got this." Together, they carried both bags to the elevator. The woman smiled gratefully. "You two are the first people who have noticed me today." Jason looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We should have noticed sooner." Her smile faded. When people grow old, it's easy to become invisible. Nathan felt those words deeply. Years ago, he had been invisible too. Not because of age, because of poverty. Kindness always begins by seeing the person standing in front of you. As they returned to the lobby, Jason's supervisor was waiting. "Office." Jason quietly followed her. 5 minutes later, he returned. His shoulders were lower. Nathan approached him. "Everything all right?" Jason forced a smile. "I'll be okay." "What happened?" "I got written up for helping a guest." Jason gave a small shrug. "My supervisor said I wasted time on someone who wasn't important." Nathan looked directly at him. "No, it's never a waste to help someone." Jason smiled. It was the first genuine smile Nathan had seen all day. Nathan later opened his notebook once more. Jason, integrity under pressure. Respects people before appearances. Leadership potential. He underlined the last sentence twice. That evening, Nathan walked through one of the service hallways. Near the housekeeping closet, he overheard two employees talking. "I wish management cared about us. They only care when executives visit. And even then, it's all for show." Nathan remained still. Sometimes the truth wasn't found in meetings. It lived in ordinary conversations. One housekeeper sighed. "I've worked here 6 years. I've never even met the owner." The other laughed. "I doubt he cares." Nathan lowered his eyes. If only they knew. He cared enough to walk these halls wearing old sneakers instead of polished dress shoes. He cared enough to hear the truth with his own ears. As he continued walking, something else caught his attention. Managers whispering. Employees avoiding questions. Inventory records that didn't quite add up. Something inside the Crown Meridian wasn't right. Tomorrow, he intended to find out exactly what it was. Nathan woke before sunrise. He always began the second day of an inspection early. Hotels revealed their true character before the lobby filled with guests and before managers had time to perform for appearances. He slipped on the same faded black hoodie, tucked his notebook into his backpack, and quietly left room 814. The hallway was almost empty. A housekeeper pushed a cleaning cart toward the next room. Though she looked exhausted, she paused when she saw Nathan. "Good morning, sir." Nathan smiled. "Good morning. You've been working since early." She nodded. "Since 5. Nathan noticed the dark circles beneath her eyes. "Long shift." She laughed softly. "It is, but someone has to keep this place beautiful." Her name tag read Maria. "I appreciate your hard work, Maria." For a moment, she seemed surprised. Then her eyes filled with emotion. "Thank you." Nathan gently asked, "Is everything all right?" She glanced around before answering. Guests noticed the flowers, the chandeliers, the marble floors. She smiled sadly. "But nobody notices us." Nathan remembered another housekeeper many years ago. One woman, one sandwich, one act of kindness. That single moment had changed the course of his life. Before leaving, he smiled. "I noticed you." Maria's smile became genuine. Thank you, sir. Nathan continued to the breakfast restaurant. A young waitress greeted him warmly. Good morning, my name, Emily. What can I get for you? He ordered pancakes, eggs, and coffee. Unlike several employees he had already met, Emily treated him exactly as she treated every other guest. A few minutes later, the restaurant manager leaned toward her. Nathan couldn't hear everything. Only one sentence. Spend your time on the VIP tables. Emily looked uncomfortable. But I've already taken his order. The VIP guests come first. She nodded politely. Yet every few minutes, she returned to Nathan's table. Would you like more coffee? Everything all right? Can I get you anything else? Nathan quietly noticed. Kindness often survives even under poor leadership. After breakfast, Nathan walked toward the business offices. As he passed a partly open door, two voices stopped him. I can't keep changing these numbers. You'll do what you're told. If corporate sees the real reports. We are finished. Nathan continued walking without making a sound. Inside his notebook, he wrote only 4 words. Review financial records carefully. Around noon, he sat in the hotel garden. A little boy sat alone near the fountain, trying not to cry. Nathan walked over. Are you waiting for someone? I can't find my mom. Before Nathan could respond, Emily hurried outside. There you are. Moments later, the frightened mother rushed over and hugged her son tightly. After thanking both of them, she walked away holding her son's hand. Emily smiled. Looks like we make a pretty good team. Nathan laughed. I think we do. Then he asked, why did you choose hospitality? Emily looked toward the fountain. My father worked in hotels for 30 years. He always said. She smiled. People may forget the room, they'll forget the food, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Nathan froze. Those words were almost identical to the values he had built his company upon. Without ever meeting him, Emily already understood the heart of hospitality. Later that afternoon, Nathan entered one of the service corridors. Guests rarely walked there. That was exactly why he wanted to. Several expensive wine cases stood beside the loading dock. Something felt wrong. Many shipping labels had been removed. Nathan quietly opened his notebook. Before he could write, footsteps approached. He stepped behind a corner. The food and beverage manager appeared with another man Nathan didn't recognize. The stranger smiled. Same arrangement next week. As long as nobody checks inventory. They both laughed. The manager opened one of the wine cases. The stranger removed several expensive bottles. I'll sell these tonight. We'll report them as damaged. Nathan remained perfectly still. His disappointment deepened. This wasn't poor customer service anymore. This was theft. He waited until they disappeared. Then he walked into the storage room. The inventory sheet listed dozens of premium bottles. Many were missing. He carefully recorded everything. No assumptions, only facts. Years of business had taught him one principle. Evidence always speaks louder than accusations. That evening, Nathan reviewed his notes in room 814. The picture had become painfully clear. Beautiful hotel, broken culture, employees who cared, managers who didn't, dishonesty hidden beneath luxury. His notebook now contained names, conversations, and evidence that headquarters had never received. He closed it slowly. The building isn't the problem. It's the leadership. Tomorrow morning, everyone would discover the truth. Before bed, Nathan decided to have dinner in the hotel's fine dining restaurant. The hostess looked him up and down. Reservation. Yes. She checked the computer, then glanced at his hoodie again. I'm afraid our window tables are unavailable. Nathan looked across the dining room. Several sat empty. That's all right. She seated him beside the kitchen doors, where servers constantly hurried past. He didn't complain. He simply observed. Minutes later, a businessman arrived with 2 clients. The hostess welcomed him enthusiastically and immediately seated him at one of the unavailable window tables. Nathan quietly wrote another note. Never lie to a guest when the truth is visible. Emily noticed where he had been seated. She approached quietly. I'm sorry about your table. Nathan smiled. It isn't your fault. She lowered her voice. Some managers believe wealthy-looking guests deserve better service. Nathan asked, and what do you believe? She answered without hesitation. Kindness shouldn't have a dress code. Nathan smiled. Those 6 words would stay with him forever. Halfway through dinner, a construction worker entered the restaurant. His boots were dusty. His clothes were worn. He spoke politely. My truck broke down. I was hopping to buy a hot meal. The hostess frowned. I'm sorry. We're full. Nathan glanced around. Several tables remained empty. The man nodded respectfully and turned toward the door. Emily hurried after him. Sir, if you don't mind waiting a few minutes, I'll prepare a table. The hostess whispered angrily. The manager will blame you. Emily smiled. Then let him. Nathan watched quietly. Once again, someone had protected the spirit of hospitality. Not because it was easy, because it was right. Later that night, Nathan crossed the lobby. Several supervisors stood talking. One laughed. Corporate never checks anything. We just make everything look perfect when executives visit. Another added, they only see what we want them to see. Nathan walked past them without slowing down. If only they knew. The company's founder had already seen everything. The following morning, Nathan packed his backpack and checked out. Department heads have been called to an emergency meeting. Nathan looked back at the hotel. Employees moved through the entrance as though it were another ordinary day. None of them knew. Their lives were about to change. A long black luxury sedan rolled slowly toward the hotel entrance. The doorman immediately straightened his jacket. The receptionist looked through the glass doors. Who's arriving? The regional director stepped out first. He walked directly to Nathan. Without hesitation, he opened the rear door with respect. Good morning, Mr. Hale. Nathan lowered the hood of his faded sweatshirt, straightened his shoulders, picked up the same worn backpack everyone had ignored. The lobby froze. Jason stood motionless. Emily covered her mouth. Maria stared in disbelief. The receptionist felt her stomach drop. The man they had laughed at, the guest they believed didn't belong, was the founder and owner of Hale Hospitality. Nathan looked around the silent lobby, then calmly said, let's begin. 20 department heads sat around the conference table. No one dared to speak. Nathan placed his old backpack beside him, then slowly removed the small black notebook. This notebook, he said quietly, contains everything I learned in 48 hours. He looked around the room. I learned more in 2 days than I've learned from 2 years of reports. Silence filled the room. Then he opened the notebook. Nathan turned another page. Bell service. His eyes found Jason. Please stand. Jason rose slowly, convinced the worst was coming. Nathan smiled. 2 days ago, you offered to help a guest you believed was an ordinary traveler. Your supervisor ordered you to ignore him, but you chose kindness instead. Jason nodded quietly. I was only trying to help. Nathan walked over and shook his hand. And that's exactly why you belong in this company. The room remained silent. I can teach management, Nathan continued. I can teach procedures, but I can't teach character. He handed Jason an envelope. Jason opened it, his hands trembling. His eyes widened. Assistant Guest Experience Manager. Nathan nodded. Effective immediately, you'll begin leadership training next week. Jason struggled to speak. I've only been here 11 months. I know, Nathan replied. That's long enough for me to see who you really are. Soft applause filled the room. Jason wiped away tears. My mother won't believe this. Nathan smiled. Tell her she raised a remarkable man. The applause grew louder. Nathan turned toward Emily. Emily. She stood and slowly walked forward. I thought I was in trouble. Nathan chuckled. You are. The room fell silent before he smiled again. Because now I expect even more from you. Laughter spread through the conference room. Nathan handed her another envelope. I want you to help redesign the customer service training for every Hale hospitality hotel. Emily stared in disbelief. Me? Yes, but I never finished college. Nathan smiled warmly. Kindness doesn't require a degree. He paused before continuing. Yesterday you said something I'll never forget. Emily smiled. Kindness shouldn't have a dress code. Nathan nodded. Exactly. I want those words displayed in every employee training room across this company. Emily covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. I don't know what to say. Just keep being yourself. The room erupted into applause. Nathan looked toward Maria. Maria. She nervously stepped forward. I hope I didn't disappoint you. Nathan smiled. You did the opposite. He held up her employee record. You've worked here for 9 years. You've never been late. You've trained dozens of employees. You've received countless compliments from guests. And yet no one ever promoted you. Maria lowered her eyes. I never asked. I know. That's why I'm offering. He handed her another envelope. Beginning next month, you'll serve as executive housekeeping supervisor. Maria burst into tears. I never imagined this. Nathan gently handed her a handkerchief. Then imagine one more thing. We're increasing your salary as well. The room applauded once again. Maria smiled through her tears. For years, I thought nobody noticed. Nathan answered softly. I noticed. Nathan slowly looked around the room. Before we finish, there's one more person you should know about. The room became completely still. When I was young, cold, hungry, and homeless, one elderly housekeeper gave me a sandwich, an apple, and a bottle of water. She expected nothing in return. That single act of kindness changed my life. He paused. Her name was Elena. I searched for years before I found her again. We stayed in touch until she passed away. Nathan smiled gently. During my last visit, she held my hand and asked me for one promise. Never let success make you forget the people nobody notices. His voice softened. I promised her I never would. He rested a hand on his faded black hoodie. That's why I still wear this. It reminds me where I came from. It reminds me what it feels like to be judged. And it reminds me that every person who walks through our doors is carrying a story we know nothing about. He looked around the room one final time. So never judge someone by their clothes. You might be looking at a billionaire. He smiled. Or someone whose life could be changed by one simple act of kindness. Nathan picked up his old backpack and walked toward the conference room door. Before leaving, he stopped and looked back at everyone. I don't measure the success of our hotels by how many rooms we sell. I measure it by how people feel when they leave. If a guest walks out feeling respected, we've succeeded. If they leave feeling invisible, we've failed. He paused. Starting today, let's become the hotel that notices everyone. Then he smiled. And let's make Elena proud. Without another word, Nathan walked out of the room. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Every employee sat quietly, reflecting on the last 48 hours. Some thought about the guests they had ignored. Others remembered moments when they had judged people too quickly. Many realized that the greatest lesson they had learned had nothing to do with running a hotel. It was about being human. 6 months later, the Crown Meridian had changed completely. Guest satisfaction reached the highest level in the company's history. Online reviews no longer praised only the beautiful rooms or elegant lobby. Guests wrote about something much more valuable: the kindness of the staff. Jason became one of the youngest guest experience managers in the company. Every person who entered the hotel was greeted with the same warm smile, whether they arrived in a limousine or on foot. Emily's customer service program was introduced in every Hale hospitality hotel across the country. The first page of every training manual displayed one sentence in bold letters: kindness shouldn't have a dress code. Maria became one of the company's most respected supervisors. Whenever she trained new employees, she always shared the same advice: don't just clean rooms. Take care of people. Her words quickly became part of the hotel's culture. Nathan never stopped his surprise inspections. He still wore the same faded black hoodie. He still carried the same old backpack. And he still arrived without warning. Because he understood something many successful people forget. Respect is never earned by wealth. It is owed to every human being. Somewhere, another traveler would walk through another hotel door wearing old clothes. The real question would never be whether that person was rich or poor. The real question would always be, would someone choose kindness? Because sometimes, one sandwich, one smile, one helping hand, or one moment of respect can change a person's life forever. Nathan's story may have ended, but its lesson never will. So let me ask you one question. If someone wearing old clothes walked into your workplace today, would you notice the clothes? Or would you notice the person? If this story made you think, we'd love to hear your answer in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the next story is even more unbelievable. Imagine a homeless woman being thrown out of a luxury restaurant, only for everyone to discover She owns the entire building. You won't want to miss that one. Until next time, remember, kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.